You must be busy with the Diwali preparations, changing the furniture and the decor, buying new clothes and sweets. Diwali, of course, creates an atmosphere of newness. Hi, I'm Zorawar, and I'm here to add some pages to your home cookbook, to up your happiness quotient this Diwali, and of course, add some girth to your tummy. So without any further ado, let's start cooking Diwali style. Diwali is considered as a festival of sweets. However, today we're going to start off with one of my personal favorite items, savory item actually, Matar ki kachori. Matar ki kachori has actually got two parts. One is of course the outer shell, which is going to be made of maida, flour, and the filling for which we're going to use butter today. Let's start with the outer shell. For the outer shell, we're going to use about 250 grams of regular maida or flour. To this, we're going to add approximately 75 milliliters of cooking oil. Another important thing to add to this crust to make it crispy is some soda bicarbonate. Just the right amount, it's about 1 gram in this case, which is very little, so be careful. The second ingredient that goes is a pinch of salt according to taste. And we'll start the kneading process. Now that the oil is mixed in properly, I'm going to add in some water, about 100 ml. So after you've kneaded it sufficiently, it's going to turn into this glutinous mixture, kind of thick. At that point in time, it's ready to set itself, and we're going to keep it aside and focus our attention onto the filling, which is the peas. So what we're going to first do is take some clarified butter, just the right amount to be able to heat it in a kadai. We'll switch on the gas here. Now I'm going to focus on putting in some cumin seeds. You just have to keep stirring them now till they begin to pop. When they begin to pop, they're about ready. The next step is going to be to put in some ginger. We're going to use about 20 grams. Stir it some more, make it nice and brown. Now I'm going to start putting in some peas little by little. You need about 200 grams for about 12 kachoris like I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to just put in small pieces small portions at a time. About 10 ml worth is about good. Now add some salt. Next, I'm going to add about 6 grams of amchur or mango powder. This adds that nice zesty flavor to it. Alright, so now that we see that these are mostly dry, the next step is going to be to put in some hing or asafoetida. So we're going to use some hing, a little generous amount, reserved in about 15 ml of water, so it becomes nice and liquidy. We're then going to move on to some red chili powder, or 3 grams. So after adding the red chili powder, I'm now going to add in some dhania powder or coriander powder, about 4.5 grams. Alright, so the next step is going to be to put in some kaju. Put in about 15 or 16 grams, just enough that you feel that you get enough bite in every kachori. Next we're going to use some kishmish or regular raisins. About 24 pieces should suffice, that way you'll be able to get 2 in every kachori. Just mix it a little bit. Alright, now that's done. So what I'm going to do now is kind of switch off the gas and just let it cool down for a little while. And while we're doing that, we're going to move on to the dough, which is going to be the shell for the kachori. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take small balls, little portion. So take about 35-gram ball of maida and roll it into a nice round ball. You place it on the hump of your palm, so to speak, and press down. The purpose of doing that is that when you flip it around, you have a nice little bay here in the middle. And this acts perfectly for the fillings. Make about 12 of these. Alright, so the next step is going to be to put in the nice filling right in the middle. Take a little bit, make sure to get enough kaju and kishmish in every spoonful. So once you've rolled it up into a ball, make sure to remove any extra flour. Now that the mutter is packed nicely inside, just press down to make into a regular kachori shape. I'm now going to put some desi ghee into this kadai for the authentic flavor. We're now going to wait for this to heat up, and one good way to test that is to take a small little piece of maida, small little ball, and drop it right in there. If you see it bubbling and rising to the top, you know it's ready enough to be frying. Alright, so I'm going to take first kachori, and I'm going to slowly, carefully drop it in from the side. You got to make sure that the flame is not set to too high, otherwise it's going to burn the product. As you can see, this one is about done, so I'm going to go ahead and take that out after draining off some excess oil. So now I'm going to just take all these kachoris out and place them on that plate. One of the interesting things that I mentioned earlier when we were making the dough for the kachori was that I mentioned we put in about a gram, only 1 gram of sodium bicarbonate. The idea for that is that it makes the entire dough rise and crispy. That's one of the key tips that you have to remember. You have to make sure to put in that 1 gram of sodium bicarbonate, and also in order to maintain that crispy texture, it's important to keep the flame at medium heat. Don't take it too high because it's going to burn on the outside and not going to get cooked from the inside. So it's best to simmer it over medium heat and let the golden brown color come out. We've served it with a salt. As you all know, this is a common ingredient. It's made with tamarind and a whole bunch of wonderful masalas. Nice tangy sauce. Goes very well with the kachori and is actually kind of, goes like salt and pepper. They actually need to go together in order for you to have the full experience. So there you have it. Delicious Matar ki kachoris, best served hot with zesty tamarind salt ki chutney. Nothing says celebration better than sweets. So when you return, we're going to indulge your sweet tooth. So stay tuned. Welcome back. We're now into the sweet part of the show. We're going to start off with a perennial Diwali favorite, balushahi. For balushahi, we're going to require about 500 grams of regular maida flour. Put it right there in a mixing bowl. Best way to do it is make a bay in the middle so that you can mix in the remaining ingredients fairly easily. To this, we're going to add about 200 grams of desi ghee, clarified butter. About 100 grams of yogurt, regular whisked yogurt. This is to give it a nice smooth consistency. About 2 grams of sodium bicarbonate. And about 2 grams of baking soda. Now I'm going to raise up my sleeves and dig right in. The idea is to keep kneading it till it becomes a hard dough. I'm now going to knead it further till it becomes a nice, thick, hard dough. The next phase would be to actually break it up into small balls. 500 grams of maida will probably yield you about 30 balushahis. So let's take out 30 balls and place them on a plate. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're rolling the ball, it's very important to use your thumb to create a small indent in the top. This is what gives balushahi the unique shape. All right, now we have to fry these up. So I'm going to switch on the gas. And I'm going to put in some desi ghee, clarified butter. I'm going to let that melt a little bit, and then I'm going to slowly start dropping these in one by one. Gently drop them into the ghee. It's good to let them get brown from one side. Make sure that they're evenly done. Now that they're nicely brown, we're going to remove them and place them again in a plate that's going to soak up the excess ghee. They're a wonderful, nice brown, lovely color. And it has risen nicely thanks to the soda bicarbonate and the baking powder that we use. All right, now that the balushahi is ready, we're going to now focus on making the chasni. What we're going to use is 1 kg of sugar, to this we're going to add exactly 1 liter of regular water. All right, that was 1 liter of water that we just stopped pouring in. As this starts to boil, we're going to add about 50 ml of milk. That's sufficient. Now the idea is to boil it at over extremely high heat. So while I do that, let me keep stirring so that it becomes a nice thick viscous nature. The idea is to keep stirring it for a few minutes. What you'll notice is once enough time has passed at extreme high heat, there are some impurities in the form of froth that rise to the top. It's essential to remove these and put them into a separate container. So what we're now going to do is keep it aside, let it cool down a little bit, switch off the gas, let it cool down a little bit, and we're going to start pouring it over the balushahi. Before that, I'm going to remove the pieces from this plate and place them in this bowl. It really is nice and tender and brittle. So now all we have to do is pick up the chasni with a big spoon and literally layer it on. Make sure that every individual piece is being nicely soaked in with the chasni. That's what gives it sweet texture, and that's what really brings out the flavor of the chasni as well as the balushahi. All right, now we're going to simply remove the sugar syrup soaked balushahi and put it into a nice presentation platter. All right, the final stages would involve a little garnish. So we've got some basic pistachios and almonds nicely cut into thin shavings. It becomes a nice garnish and adds a little bit more flavor. So that was balushahi from the east. But a single sweet dish simply wouldn't do for a Diwali special. So when you return, we're going to have a dairy-based favorite from the north, kalakand.